walk into this room at your own risk, because it leads to the future.
Forget it, Arnie. This baby's got 93,000 miles on it. Probably 193. I don't care.
Why don't you get out of your big ugly car, huh? We'd like to see what you look like.
What's that? There's a jet of flame springing from the mirror, and it leaps right at the advancing men. It strikes them head on.
All right, welcome back to the Unnamed Movie Car Podcast, recording at you live from hell.
Yep.
I don't know if we've done actually from hell before.
No, or Utah, or same thing.
Yeah, or Utah.
True.
But we're so excited to be back recording. We haven't recorded in a while. We are
in
joined
a long
by... Yes, we are joined by special guest Leo yet again. It's
Leo.
that time of year.
Yeah.
It's Halloween. Today we are talking about Highway to Hell, the
Yep.
1991 movie, and super excited about it. But as you guys know, if you're a fan of the show, we wait 10 minutes to really talk about the movie, or, to avoid spoilers if you end up making up your mind at the 9-minute and 50-second mark that you might want to watch this movie.
Yeah,
you still have time. And when you hear the Ecto 1 sound, thank you, that will mark that we're going to talk about the show. So welcome back, Leo.
Yeah,
it's good to see you.
Let's talk a
Good to be here.
And what I'm thinking is maybe what we can do, because it is the season. We were outside. Maybe you can talk a little bit about what you're doing this year with your yard. And is there anything new this year?
There will be several new things. They're in the process of being constructed in the basement, or as we call it, the abattoir. And
the what?
Abattoir. It's like a slaughterhouse.
Nice. I have seen that basement, by the way.
Yeah, so you know
true.
what I'm talking about.
I know what you're
but
talking about.
we did clean up the blood on the walls. It looks a lot better now.
I just love when
Trying
you
to get
open
some of that resale value back.
when you open the closet and there's like full mannequins in the closet. It's awesome. It's like
you don't have skeletons in your closet. You have
full mannequins.
The skeletons
lifelike
roam the
mannequins.
basement. We put
Yeah,
the
it's
weird
fine.
shit in the closet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's not enough room in the closet
Right.
for the skeletons.
Nah, they're really pissed about it too.
Yeah, exactly. So there's new stuff this year, right?
Got new rope lights. You can see the lights stream around the house instead of being static.
Exactly. When we came outside, or when we were walking up, we were like, "Oh wow, is this new this year?" Are those the pixel ones that have, because they can change color? Those are like, they look like they can change to any color.
I don't know what you mean by pixels. They're LED lights, but they're programmed.
Oh, cool.
They have like 9 colors, and they'll do things like Christmas oriented and a Halloween oriented, but I like the streaming thing because it kind of draws your eyes.
It does, yeah.
These lines in the dark that are flowing colors. And,
it creates movement where there's not usually, which is cool.
And it does illuminate enough so the mannequins and the props get kind of emphasized.
Yeah,
definitely. And so, do you guys have like a Facebook or website or?
We do. We have a Facebook, Leo's House of the Dead.
Okay, great.
It's very small. We don't have a lot of contributions to it yet. It's been put up for a year or two.
That's cool. That's cool.
For people to make comments on what they see.
Yeah,
There's a few comments, and anybody that comes by or hears the podcast and wants to add a little bit or see what I do, they're welcome to look at the Facebook page. They can also Google Leo's House of the Dead and see some video that people have taken.
Okay, good.
And,
good. Yep, good. Well, that's it's been fun to watch every year. You've added stuff. There's been so many things over the years. The giant angel for a while and all that stuff that comes up. If you haven't, for those of you listening, if you haven't, you really need to Google Leo's House of the Dead. And you'll find some really interesting, fun stuff. But it's like a house. It's a house with unusual. I don't know how else to say it. It's like unusual stuff you'd never ever seen before. And I remember every year I have the fortune to sit outside and listen to people talk, because they don't know who I am. I'm just standing there, or whatever.
They think you're a dummy. I mean, a mannequin.
They know I'm a dummy. Yes, they're like, they're scared of me as they walk by. So, but I hear people like, "Oh my gosh, look at that! That's so cool!" And the kids love it, and it's not just kids. I mean, the adults love it too. big time. But the kids get the biggest thrill out of coming up to the door, and you do all sorts of shock and awe at the door.
It's very interactive. We do our best to make Pampers a viable option.
Yeah, you might want to put that up on the sign this
Yeah.
year. That exactly. Depends is probably a good sponsor for you.
And the
this
weird
year.
part is some of it is really, really demented.
Yeah,
And
it is.
twisted
Some of it-
and
some of it's-
psychopathic.
Yeah,
And the kids love it.
yeah, it's
And
true.
The more we scare them, the more they love it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Well,
is that your draw to doing this setup? Because you've done it for several years.
My
What's
draw
your-
was this. When I was in college, I saw in 1972 an Alice Cooper concert, and they started doing some weird stuff with some electronic equipment. And I thought,
okay,
wow,
yeah.
I want to get that. So
Yeah.
I tracked it down and started buying esoteric early electronic instrumentation.
Yeah.
And then, because there was no way to use that unless you were in a band, I found you could use it for Halloween. And that then I started building strobe lights and color organs,
yeah.
and started working with skulls. And this was before Great Foam and some of the cool
Yeah.
Halloween stuff. So you
Right.
had to pretty much improvise a lot of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was no spirit stores.
Right. Yes.
You went to Kmart and bought a bunch of
Blue Light
plastic
Special,
stuff.
baby.
Yeah,
Oh,
blue
yeah,
light. Oh
yeah.
yeah, skulls, blue
Yeah.
light special, aisle 7.
I used to do those. I used to do blue light specials. I worked for Kmart. I did that.
So did
used
I.
to-
So
oh,
did
no
I.
kidding.
I was
You
a
were-
stock boy.
Oh, so was I. That's so hilarious. That's awesome. I used to do, the blinking blue beacon of bargains. That's what we called it. Yeah, it was the blue light special.
There's a
It's
place for
awesome.
you here, Leo.
Ah, yeah,
no,
yeah,
there
exactly
isn't.
right. Yeah,
Oh,
I can
jeez.
imagine them saying that. Yeah. Ah, good.
But anyway,
good. Yeah.
anyway,
But you used to go to those stores, and then there would be like nothing really overwhelming at those stores.
There's a lot more
Nothing-
DIY.
Cheap Chinese
Yeah.
imports. There
Yeah.
was nothing creative there.
Yeah,
If
you're
you were
right, it was all
lucky,
DIY.
you were lucky you had a strobe light skull,
Yes.
and they were $700
Yeah.
because
True,
nothing
yeah.
was cheap back then.
Yeah.
So I got into building my own equipment, my own props, and then we moved into this house 35 years ago. So
Wow.
I had much more room.
Yeah.
And my wife and I didn't have children, so we had a lot of disposable income that
You've
I
been-
was able to put into
Yeah.
props
You've been here 35 years?
Yep.
Wow, that's great.
from 1987.
Wow.
I have a
That is
picture of me
awesome.
in the police office.
Oh, what? I don't want to ask. Why?
Leo moves into Naperville.
Right. Well, yeah, like now, they know you now.
They know me now.
And
In
it's
fact,
fu- yeah.
last
Yeah.
year, we do such an over-the-top thing that in Naperville they have trolleys that go around.
I was going to
at
say the trolley.
Christmas,
Yep. the
and they
trolley.
go around at Halloween,
Yeah.
and there'll be 20 to 30 people on a trolley, and we'll get anywhere from 2 to 10 to 12 trolleys a night,
Yeah.
starting like Wednesdays through Sundays, and then a couple of days off where it's a little bit lighter. But for 3 weeks, we have trolleys going by. And last year, one of the trolleys was sponsored for the police and their kids.
Oh, really?
So
Oh,
all the
that's
kids
great.
got off, and I got
Yeah.
to scare the kids.
Ah, great.
And then the cops got out and got to scare me.
Yeah. That's awesome, though. That's fun. That's great.
It
yeah.
was great. It was great.
The trolley is we're big fans of the trolley, obviously, but Naperville has the trolley, and to do that. Remember one year we went on the trolley, and it ended up here
And
at
I
your
got
house,
off.
yeah, and you got off. That was great. I mean, and then I got to hear the people on the trolley. And I think I recorded the voices. I didn't like videotape them, but I think I recorded the voices, and everyone's just like, "Oh, look at this house!" And you're like the pinnacle, you're like the grand finale of the trolley tour.
True.
Really, I mean, because everybody's like in such awe, and the stuff you have so much cool stuff to look at. And it's almost like a museum to me, because I look at each one and I'm like, okay, that's really neat how you put those two items together, how twisted it is. But yeah, you put those items together and it's like Barbie dolls, but with mixed up heads on them and stuff. It's just really fun stuff. And then Just so many things I can't even explain. You have to just kind of see it. Lots of bugs, lots of... you have a dinosaur, too.
I have a 9-foot tall T-Rex skeleton and a Triceratops underneath it. They're kind of in a
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
eat
That's
me
other-
stage.
Right, yes,
and,
exactly,
a few
yes.
other things out there
Right.
that match it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize... Did you have the dinosaur last year?
I've
I
had
don't
it for
remember.
3 years.
You've had it for 3?
But
Okay.
I had it in the front yard in the little alcove, and then I
Okay.
put it there last year.
Okay, yeah.
And it was a good
Yeah.
place. It's out of the way. The problem is it's plastic, so it has to be really anchored down. Otherwise, the wind will
okay.
blow it right over.
Yeah, okay.
So
Yeah.
I put it in the trees,
Yeah.
and it's lit up with this red strobes. So
Right. Yeah.
it's kind of eerie.
Which, by the way, okay, we're
at 10 minutes. Just
so
you
we
know.
are at 10. So okay.
Whoa! What was
All
that?
right. Hey, you know what
Highway to Hell.
that means? That means we can talk about Highway to Hell. Which,
right.
and by the way, you were at Volo. One of our favorite places is Volo. He went to
Volo
the,
Auto Museum?
Yeah, Volo
Oh,
Auto
yeah,
Museum. But
fantastic.
he went to the Jurassic Park exhibit.
Oh, how was
Yeah.
it?
I've actually got pictures of me and a T-Rex
Yeah, it was
mouth.
Cool. Yeah, it was cool.
Wow.
And
That's
I put Leo defeats a T-Rex monster by choking him to death. But it's me in his throat.
Right, exactly.
The animals are really cool. It's a very small exhibit,
Is it?
maybe
Yeah.
20 dinosaurs, but they're
Right.
realistic. You can pet them and touch them.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's very cool.
The kids love it.
So, yeah.
I'm a big dinosaur freak, as you know. I did dinosaur digging and stuff.
Right,
and,
exactly. Well, that's one of the fascinating things about you is that you are so multi-talented, but also like you're into so many different things. It's so fun to talk with you. I could talk for like 50,000 hours. I don't think we have the time, but anyway, we will talk about
only
this.
14 hours.
I know
we do
only
have 14 hours on this
14 hours.
SD card, so
Exactly.
do what
So,
you
yeah.
can in that
Yeah.
in that time.
So let's talk about
Highway to Hell.
the Highway to Hell.
This
Highway
was
to
Leo's
Hell.
pick.
Yeah, yes, it was, and Leo got us. Thank you very much. The DVD, I appreciate that, and that was very fun. I don't know. So
What was everyone's impressions?
That's yeah. What do you think?
I think for a comedic horror movie, it's not really a horror movie. It's more a comedy.
Yeah.
But there's so much weird shit in that movie that your jaw is always dropping, going,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, Ben
Right.
Stiller, the
What?
weirdest one.
Well,
What?
Ben Stiller's entire family, which was so weird to see his sister, his mom, his dad, Ben Stiller, and Ben Stiller in two different roles. Yes. Yeah. Right. So he's the cop and the Attila the Hun.
Were they
Right,
not
so-
the same person?
No,
They
Attila
weren't
the-
supposed to be the same person? 'Cause
No.
I'm like, oh, Ben Stiller's back.
He plays a zombie cop. When the cop pulls into the coffee
he
shop
does?
and
Yeah.
clamps her arm to the
Yeah.
railing counter, Jerry, the father.
Yeah, Jerry. Yeah. Jerry Stiller. Yeah.
Is it
Jerry.
Ben Stiller?
Ben is
Well,
the
Ben
son.
is the son, but Jerry's
Okay,
the dad.
Jerry
yeah.
Stiller, the father,
Yeah.
is the cop that comes over and steals
Right.
Hellcop's donuts
Yes.
and gets shot.
Yes,
And then later
exactly.
on, he's in one of the other scenes.
Okay. Wait, Jerry Stiller is, or
His
Ben
dad.
Stiller? Oh, his dad's in another scene.
I believe so.
Oh, wow.
And then
I
Ben
think he's-
Stiller's the cook.
Yes, he's
Making the eggs on
Ben
the
Stiller's-
concrete
and
out
the,
front and
and the
stuff.
steak. He's
Yeah.
making the steak on the concrete.
Yeah,
which
it
is-
was like the weirdest cameo I've ever seen.
If you people are having trouble following us, it's because it's almost impossible to describe this movie.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
It's just so much weird
there's-
stuff.
There is so much going on, and we talked about. We just briefly talked about this. The first time I watched it, I was like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." And then, now that I've watched it again and kind of like jumped around a bit in it, I was kind of like, "Oh, it's kind of growing on me." It's kind of like I'm kind of enjoying it more the second time I watched it. And there's just so much to it. So basically, you want to give the synopsis of it? I mean,
Yeah, we could talk about
Okay.
it. Yeah, go ahead.
So basically, there's a young kid, a young couple, a boy and girl. They're traveling to Vegas
To elope.
to elope. Exactly. Very simple premise. They pull off on a side road. They go to
And she's a virgin.
And yes, that's right. That she's a virgin. So that's an important part of this movie. So they pull off on a side road. It's very dark. There's a gas station, Sam's gas station.
Yeah.
And excuse me. So Sam is this old caretaker of the gas station, and they get gas, and then they go down the road, and the kid falls asleep. By the way, it's played by Chad Lowe, who I think is Rob Lowe's brother.
Lowe's
Is it?
younger
Yes,
brother.
exactly.
Wait, really?
Yes,
Because I
does
had
that make
written in my
sense?
notes, I was like, this is like dollar store Rob Lowe. Because I kept thinking, I was like, oh, he
Well,
kind
you're
of
not
looks like
wrong
Rob
there.
Lowe.
You're not-
But he's
you're
not.
not
And I
wrong
was
there.
like, oh, they probably just got, they were like, the
It's-
casting call was probably like
It's
a Rob Lowe.
Chad Lowe. Chad Lowe.
Was it really Rob
Yes,
Lowe's
he's-
brother?
Yes,
No
and he's
way.
been in about 30 different movies and TV shows,
Oh,
but
wow.
Yeah.
you don't recognize him because
Yeah.
he's not
Yeah.
famous.
Right.
And
Exactly.
after playing in Highway to Hell, I can see why.
Yeah.
I know. I wasn't gonna say it, but I was gonna say it. And also, Christy Swanson? Yeah. Who played Bumpy?
Bumpy. Bumpy the vampire killer.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yes.
Bumpy
I
the
couldn't say that.
vampire with a speech impediment. The vampire and speech therapy.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So basically,
yeah.
the girl gets kidnapped.
Yes.
basically
By a hell cop.
by
Hell Cop,
named
yeah.
Hell Cop, who I think was a really cool character.
Yeah, it was a
was a
cool
character.
character.
Taken to hell. The boyfriend goes and chases her, and the
Yep.
whole movie is him getting the girlfriend
Yep.
back.
Trying
Lots of
trying
cars.
to get out of hell. Yes.
Yeah, trying to get
Okay.
back out of hell.
Exactly.
Which I have to say, my favorite part of the movie
Mm-hmm.
is that hell is literally just Nevada.
It is. It's Utah.
It's
Hell is Utah.
Because I
I would. New Mexico would be more.
Well, I spent the summer driving through New Mexico,
Right,
Arizona,
right,
the whole
exactly.
Southwest,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, this is just." I've
is
seen
hell.
that bar, I've seen that bar, I've seen that coffee shop. I'm like, I'm sure it's just the Southwest. I don't even think they dressed it up at all, and I don't think they hired any actors.
No,
they just
painted-
filmed
they did
in a
paint the
coffee shop.
mountains. They did paint the mountains.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I just
yeah.
loved that. They're like,
No,
this is
it's so
hell,
true.
and it's like literally Arizona. That's it. That's
No, it is. It's Utah. It's New
I
Mexico.
tell you what, my
Yeah.
time spent in Albuquerque, that was
Yeah.
pretty close to hell.
I was gonna say New Mexico is not. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been there. It's a good place to go through really, really fast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good place
uh,
to go through when your brakes are blown out.
Well, and I think that was obviously the big part of this movie was that was, I think, part of the joke really was that it's the desert, it's Utah and all of that, and saying,
Yeah.
well, this is hell.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of like more.
It was either that or Cleveland. So
Well, what did you call West Cleveland?
I
or
went
what-
to East Cleveland.
East
And
Cleveland, yeah.
I will not be returning. It was a long story short.
It's a long story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was not a good adventure there.
Yeah.
From what you told me, but yeah. So it was it was fun to see them do. You're absolutely right though. They literally didn't do anything. They didn't
No, it's just Arizona.
It's just Arizona and Utah.
The Southwest just sucks so bad that it could double as hell. And they're like, yeah, this works.
Yeah,
And that's
there's
the other thing is that it wasn't pulling me out of the movie. I
No,
wasn't
it
like,
wasn't.
oh, this is just Arizona. I was like, oh yeah, this is hell.
Yeah, that is
This
hell.
is
That
hell.
is-
I'm fully
that's
invested in
that's
this.
fully hell. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is hell.
Some of the landscapes and sets were really awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
Red,
yeah.
the Red
the-
Cave.
Yeah, the Red Cave was really really
And
cool.
they're standing
That
on
was
the
really
mountain,
cool. It was
looking down the
beautiful,
valley, and the devil's
Yeah.
doing his little rap and
Yeah.
stuff. Some
Yeah.
of it, and the car chases were pretty
Yeah, that was fun.
majestic, I'd
Yeah,
say.
exactly.
I actually ended up liking this movie.
Did you?
I
Yeah,
liked
good.
it.
I did
thought,
too.
I thought Hell Cop was a really good villain.
I did too.
Kind
Yeah,
of
it was
had
nice.
this sort of Terminator 1 feeling to him.
Yeah, he never
This
talks.
Never
almost
talk.
like a.
Never, yeah.
So he can't get a SAG award, can he?
I don't
Don't
know.
you
if
have to have,
that's
like,
true. You have
3
to have like
lines of
one, yeah, I
dialogue
think
or
it's like
something?
a couple lines or
In
something.
order to
I
win
think.
an
Oh, yeah,
Oscar,
yeah.
like
I think
in
you're
order to
right.
get in or
Well,
whatever.
at least to get in, to get your SAG
Yeah.
card, to be a So to be.
Did
a
he
member.
have lot? Because you
don't
met
think he
the
had any.
actor briefly.
Interesting story. We
Yeah,
were
go.
going to a flashback weekend, which is a movie convention for
Yeah.
old movies
Yeah.
in Rosemont, which is about 30 miles from my house. A friend of mine needed a ride, so he came over Friday night, spent the night here, and on a random whim, I picked up this movie because we're both horror fans and
Yeah.
plopped it in, and we watched it. The next day, we go to Flashback Weekend, and they have a lot of grade B movie actors and guys like Robert Englund and a few other people come there and take pictures and sign autographs and talk to the fans.
Yeah.
So I'm with my girlfriend, and we look around, and my friend comes up to me, and he's got a copy of Highway to Hell, and it's been signed. And like, Where'd you get that? Who signed that? And he
Yeah.
says, oh, the Hell Cop guy's right over there.
Yeah.
So
That's
we go
awesome.
over and talk to him and explain the amazing coincidence of watching
Yeah.
a movie the night before. From
Right.
A 30-year-old movie.
Yeah.
We just happened to throw in, and here
Yep.
we are. Talk about cosmic interaction. It
Right.
was
Exactly.
pretty
yeah.
cool.
So that's very cool. And you gave this movie to us last year, I think it was, or last time.
I think it was
last
like
Halloween?
in April
Yeah.
or February.
Oh, okay.
somewhere in there.
Okay. All right. So yeah, because I think I came over when we were talking about stuff, and then you gave me the movie, which was awesome. And so we were thinking about it and thinking about. But I'm glad that we did that this year to do this as our Halloween. Well, I guess our Halloween special, but we haven't had much in between.
Yeah, we haven't put out an episode
Well,
since
we
like
haven't
maybe
been,
like
yeah.
May.
Yeah, it's been.
That's okay.
We
It's
slowed
been a
down a
busy
little
summer.
bit. Well,
But,
we did 50, and then we kind of slowed down
Yeah.
after that. So.
Well, I
Probably,
suggested the movie because I knew you guys were car guys.
Oh yeah.
And there's
We'll talk
a
about that.
number of really cool cars
Yep.
in
Yep,
this
yep,
movie.
yep.
In fact, at one point in the movie, it's overwhelming.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Do we want to
And,
get into the cars now?
Yeah.
'Cause I do
Well,
have
we
some-
can
I
talk.
have
Okay.
some
Yeah, we
list
can
stuff
talk about
the
that.
cars.
So let's talk about the cars.
So first of all, I thought the lead car casting was really well done.
the Pinto.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the Pinto. It's a 1940 Ford V8 Deluxe, the white car that they
Oh,
had.
it is. Yeah,
yeah.
I was wondering what
was
that
that
was.
a
yeah.
replica or was that a real car?
I don't know.
Because
It-
who
it-
would
good question.
destroy that car?
I know it was beautiful.
well,
yeah.
but back in the 80s, I mean, think about it. That was
that's
like
true.
a
That was like,
what? It was
like
a
30-year
40-year-old car.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, that's I wrote it down here. That's like having
Wait.
a car from the mid 70s.
Right.
Right.
Like
exactly.
people kind of now it's starting to rebound
So
a
a
little
Dodge
bit. but, like,
Monaco.
right. It's literally like that. Like
I'm
people-
glad you can remember the 70s.
I
Right.
was negative 20 in the 70s.
right,
It was
exactly,
a very
yeah.
fun time for me.
Yeah. I was. Yeah.
But I thought it was very funny because that car had a 3.6 liter V8 making 85 horsepower.
85.
So he's running out of
85.
hell
Right,
with
with the-
85 horsepower.
Wow,
And whatever
okay.
that nitrous tank gave him, whatever that was.
Yeah. So yeah.
Is it nitrous? Is it
Nitrous
angel
oxide,
dust?
whatever.
Right, it was-
whatever.
I did love the fact that it was an all-white coupe, too.
Yeah.
I thought that was very symbolic.
yeah.
of,
It wasn't
like,
white at the end.
well,
No,
right,
it was a little
but
dusty.
No, it was,
Yeah,
it was a little
but,
beat up.
I just because 40s cars are styled, they're so curvy, and
Yeah,
they actually
exactly.
started thinking about aerodynamics as
Yeah.
opposed to like our Model A, where it's just a brick on
yeah,
wheels.
exactly.
So I thought that was
Yeah.
actually a really well cast car.
It was.
kind of this.
I thought it
like,
was cool.
angelic motor vehicle, I guess.
It was, but 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, when they focused on the speedometer,
Yeah.
it said vintage.
Oh, it does?
interesting.
Really? I didn't
That
know that.
to
yeah.
me says
All right.
replica.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, because Ford
okay.
didn't put vintage on their speedometers.
Probably
Yeah.
not.
No,
Probably.
they definitely didn't. So that
Yeah,
was a good
that's
catch. I didn't
That is
see
a good
that.
catch. I didn't see that either.
And the
That's
other
good.
thing is the casual violence given to this car
Yeah.
during the
That is
movie.
true. That is true. Yeah, there was a lot of damage
Well,
to this car.
we just rewatched the ending of it
We did.
right before
We
hitting
did.
record. And what
Yep.
I noticed that I didn't catch before is that one of the guys on the motorcycle was stabbing his sword through the
Right.
roof of the car.
Which-
And the inside shot, it's a fabric roof.
Right.
But then they cut to the outside and it's a metal roof with
Right.
no stab holes in it.
True.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I wonder
Maybe it was
Oh,
a
there's-
magic sword.
There-
well, this was hell.
It was hell.
So
It was hell. So
it's a strong possibility.
And
But
it-
I didn't notice that on the first watch through.
No, I know it was. Yeah, and that definitely was. Yeah, that was the only thing that was unrealistic in the entire movie.
Yeah,
There's
was the-
everything else was
Ford
completely
Deluxe.
factual. Yeah, it's the Ford. No, it was. It was a good car to put in the movie.
Yeah.
and it was fun. But my questions about the car was, okay. So first of all, why does Sam have this car? How does he know that this car would need nitrous to get out of hell? How does he have magic bullets? Where did the magic bullets come from that Sam had and the magic gun?
If you remember, his girlfriend was kidnapped
Right.
years before.
Yes,
and
and
he
she's
was
not-
preparing to go after her, but never quite
Okay.
made the jump.
Right, exactly.
So-
So
So this was
He-
just
Otherwise, it's just an old guy in the desert with a hot car.
Yeah.
He learned a lot.
Sucking on nitrous oxide, and I'll put some in the car, too, just
Okay.
for grins.
Right. He learned and he learned a lot about hell.
Which
and how
I
to
wrote
escape
down.
hell from-
I wrote a note about Sam that I
Okay.
just said the man always yells way after they leave the gas station with the most vital information. Both times
That is true.
he yelled as
Yeah,
they were pulling
right,
away. I was
exactly.
like, get to
Yeah.
it a little bit sooner next time.
Well, and then in the beginning, there's that jump scare with him in the window. But then they repeated that same weird thing of him looking in the window like 3 times.
leering.
Yeah, and he's leering, right? And so it's like, oh, wait, you've already done the jump scare, so just move on.
Yeah.
Okay, so just
Oh,
so-
interesting thing. The guy that played Sam is a guy named Richard Farnsworth.
Yes,
Who won
yes.
2 Academy Award nominations.
Did he?
Didn't win the Oscar, but had 2
For this
nominations.
movie.
No, not for this. My God.
Definitely not.
Our standards have sunk so low. He was in a movie
Yeah.
called The Gray Fox, which is
Oh,
based
okay.
on a true story about a bank robber
Ah.
in the 20s and 30s who was imprisoned for 30 years, let out of jail.
Yeah.
And it was such a cultural shock to him, he started robbing trains
Oh,
and got
wow.
sent back into jail. And
Okay.
the actor himself was married for a long time to a woman, and she died. He lived alone in the desert. And
Oh, wow.
contracted cancer.
Oh,
And,
no.
when he was 80 years old, he shot himself in the head.
No. Oh,
Because
that's
of,
horrible.
Because of the
yeah.
pain and
Yeah.
the cancer he had was paralyzing him.
Oh, wow.
So think about that
Wow,
poor
yeah.
old guy while
Wow.
you're ridiculing
All right,
his
so-
acting abilities. Maybe he was a little bit senile at that point, okay?
No, I take nothing back. Because I am a terrible, awful human being, and I have no empathy or anything.
And that's what we like about you.
Was it the
I have no
cancer or
feelings.
was it living out in the desert? Because as we described, it is hell.
It is, yeah, exactly.
Maybe a
Yeah,
combination of both. I wasn't there at the time.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
okay,
All right.
all right.
Well, or so you say, because I don't know.
Yeah, where were you on the night of?
Right.
What?
No. Anyway, so yeah. So you have that character. He knows everything about hell. He knows he's got shotgun shells that can pierce unliving like things from hell. Yeah, they're magic bullets, and he's got a car that he's been prepping, but he just doesn't. He hasn't gone there. He hasn't gone back, and so yeah,
He's out in this desert.
Yeah.
He's at a fly spec gas station
Yes.
with this immaculate car in the garage
Yes.
that he probably hasn't opened in 20
right,
years.
exactly. And you notice he turned the lights off to the gas station as they drove away the first time. It's like
Spooky.
It's like, well, I guess you're closing up for the night. I don't know if that was really weird. And then I did notice a very bizarre thing. When the kids come up to the gas station, he's in a rocking chair, and the rocking chair has a mirror, a mirror attached to the rocking chair so that he can see if people pull up. Why don't you just swing the rocking chair around so you can see when people pull up? That bothered me.
You can
guess
see people
so,
pull up
geez.
for miles.
That's true.
It's a flat land there.
That is true, but that did bother me. I'm
Maybe
like,
it's for cocaine.
Wow.
You can't do crack off of wood grain.
had a vertical mirror? I don't know.
Hey, some people are
so
skilled.
fine. Whatever. So, yeah, that whole thing with the mirror bothered me, of the whole thing in the movie. But so
Yeah.
about the cars.
That's
Anyway,
your,
so
your
that-
only quibble. We're
That's
doing
my
good.
only quibble. Yeah. So, no.
Next
so,
up was
yeah.
my favorite car.
Yeah.
Was the 1979 Ford LTD cop car. So it was modified
was
for the film. It was a
an
Ford LTD.
Okay, so it was a Ford LTD. I didn't know that.
I've
Okay.
driven one of them.
Have you?
Very slow. I mean, this race at the end
So
could
maybe
not have been.
maybe the 60 horsepower that the
Yeah. I like to imagine if this were filmed, like a Kia Sorento would just drive right past this whole entire thing. Because there
just
was
blow
no
the
way
doors off of both of them.
this high-speed chase was probably not that high speed.
And not only that, all the stuff that was on the car, all the additional
Oh, yeah.
stuff, the
Flaming wheels,
Right,
the
the
flame
Yeah.
coming out of the back.
yeah, there's all
George
sorts of
Barris's signature.
all the accoutrements, but yeah,
Yeah.
George Barris probably did sign.
If you've
Did
gone
sign
to the
that car.
Volo Auto
I have.
Museum, if you look around, like 90% of the cars are signed by George Barris.
Yeah.
Even if he didn't build them.
Yeah, he
He
signed
signed the Ecto one, and he never worked on it. It's a running joke that like he just goes out into the parking lots and just signs
signs
cars.
people's cars.
You
And
know.
he's got a
Suddenly worth
sharp
thousands of dollars more. I love it.
Yeah, a brand
Yes.
new Hyundai.
Well, that would be
signed
it.
by
Yeah,
George
exactly.
Barris,
Just
so.
George Barris guy. Yeah, fine, but yeah.
But I really liked the cop car. I thought it was very cool. It was kind of like the movie The Car,
Right.
where it was like you could tell what it was. It wasn't this like crazy machine, but they changed it enough to like look cool and unique for the movie. Like if I wanted to build one, we would just need a 79 LTD and like some Bondo and paint. Like, you know what I mean?
And some pipes.
Yeah, and some side pipes. But like
pipes
other
coming
than
off,
that,
yeah.
like I thought it was really cool and unique. And probably my favorite car in the movie was definitely the cop car.
Yeah,
I
that
really
was
liked
it was very cool. I
It
liked
looked
that.
a little chunky to me.
It did, but it was neat. It was different.
Oh, yeah, it was a cool car.
Yeah, but it was chunky. It wasn't like very sleek.
No, they should have had the Chrysler Turbine car from the 1964 World's
Oh,
Fair.
Ooh,
yeah.
oh, there you go.
I've seen that one in
would be a
person.
good one.
That
Yeah,
is
I
a
like
very
that.
good looking.
Have you really?
So the Ford Museum up in Dearborn has it right next to the EV1. The GM EV1, and then it's the Chrysler turbine car, and then on a stand is a rotary engine right next to the turbine.
Seriously?
car. Yeah.
Wow, that's like
So
the
what we
trifecta
drove
for
here
you, yeah.
was right next to
exactly.
a turbine car. Yeah, Wankel.
He's got his RX-7 here.
We drove the Wankel here.
We drove the RX-7, the 1985 Mazda RX-7.
Yeah, that's what
sitting
we
out
took
front,
here. So
which was great.
Let's do a monster movie.
Yeah, there you go.
Highway
Yes.
to Berwyn.
oh god,
Same thing as hell. It's
Yeah.
so what?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a
what's
lot
it-
closer.
Highway to Joliet. All you
my
need
gosh,
is an
yeah.
I-Pass and you're there.
The Blues Brothers already did it.
That's true. That is right.
That's
yeah,
a
that's
good one.
very good.
Lots of
lots of-
Volkswagens in the movie.
Lots of Volkswagens.
There was a really cool scene where they're surrounded by all these
I
different
thought you would like
Volkswagens.
that.
At least 30. That's the reason I recommended this movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I knew you have this ability to look at a car and tell exactly what it is. And I knew we could stump you with 30 or 40 Volkswagens all at once.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is I found the trivia on IMDb, which we'll get to later, and it said that there was like the Volkswagen Owners Club of Arizona came out and were just
really?
extras in their own cars.
Yeah.
Which it's funny because you see a couple cars hitting the
Yes,
main characters.
you do.
But then you see like pristine ones in the background. I'm like, oh, that was a club member in the background. Like they're not messing up their cars.
Right.
But like it was just to add mass to the
And
scene.
a couple of the cars had signs on top like Domino's Pizzas or something.
Yeah, that was fun. That was
weird.
a lot of fun.
I
And,
actually drove my first Beetle this summer when I was out in
Did you really?
California.
Yeah.
Very close to the desert. I should have driven it to hell.
Right, you should have.
But
I
I love those little cars.
my parents had that car. My brother had that car. Very fun.
When I was in the Navy in 1967, 68 in San Francisco, the summer of love, being turned into a militarized hippie,
Yeah,
I bought a used Volkswagen.
you did.
And so it had to be like a 66 or a 64
Wow.
or whatever. Probably one of Hitler's first production models.
Yeah,
from
nice.
like 1932
Nice.
or something. Give those people their car, Volks
Yeah.
car.
Yeah,
I'm reading
Is
a book
yeah,
about
yeah,
it right
yeah.
now. It's a very fascinating story. But it is. Everyone always says, "Oh, the Volkswagen was Hitler designed." I'm like, yeah. Read it. Well, he did all the grunt work, but Hitler really pushed for it. He opened every German auto show, and he was like, "We're bringing out the car next year."
Really?
He was there when the plant was built. He was like very, very involved.
That
But it's
was-
Ferdinand Porsche that actually did the grunt work.
Hitler wanted a car that the German people could drive like Americans.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He wanted the German nation to be industrialized,
Yeah.
where everybody would have a car and a good lifestyle.
Yeah. So that was
all
go
the
ahead.
machining for the Volkswagen original factory was bought in Detroit and shipped over.
Was it really?
Ferdinand Porsche
Wow.
came to
Okay.
Detroit twice, bought cars, shipped them back, and
Yeah.
everything in the factory was American made,
So
except for the cars and
okay.
were German made. But
All right. Well, that was all Hitler.
yeah,
I'm not Hitler!
We've heard that story before, haven't we?
Once it's explained, the devil will look at me and I say goodbye, devil, and he goes goodbye, Bob. In fact, I'm 90. 19 years old. I like to listen to heavy metal. I like to sit in my room and play air guitar. I like to dance around the room in my underwear.
Would you just get over it and get therapy like I did?
No, I'm not Hitler, and I should not be sitting at the same table with the Flintstones.
That sounds like the Aflac duck.
It does.
That
Very
was
much
a
so.
seamless tie-in.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank
nice
you very
job
much.
with that.
All right. Hey.
Actually, he was reproducing a scene that he had done in another movie.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I can't
So was-
remember. It's like Hitler Goes Springtime or something. I don't know.
Wait,
Well,
Springtime for Hitler from the producers?
that was-
I'm not
well,
sure it's
something
the
like that.
same. He was,
But that- yeah.
he was reproducing a short vignette from a previous movie.
I love
So
the producers.
that was
It's my favorite musical.
That's an awesome movie.
Yeah.
But that was Gilbert Gottfried playing Hitler in this movie. In this movie, you have Gilbert Gottfried. You were the one who told me about that. I'm like, you said, "Oh, you got to see this movie because Gilbert Gottfried plays Hitler," and I'm like, "What? That doesn't make any sense at all." But it was hilarious, and that's why I wanted to include this because people wouldn't believe. Wait a minute, Hitler's sitting at a table in hell with
Attila
the Hun and Cleopatra, and there's an empty table next to them with seats ready for. Did you have?
Which
do you
I
it?
have notes for.
Oh, you do. Okay, all right. So
Idi Amin.
Idi Amin,
he was
yeah.
the Philip Morris guy, the little Philip Morris midget.
Oh, right.
He walks around going, Idi Amin, phone call for Idi Amin. That's the guy from the 1940, 1950, 1960 Philip Morris ads on TV.
Really?
He was a little midget, wore a little bellman suit, went around going, telephone for Mr. Sinatra, telephone for...
No.
Yes.
Okay, so I
Yeah,
totally
no way.
missed that
Philip
completely.
Morris
then.
guy.
All right, so Philip Morris guy, but
So
yeah,
they pan over
that's
to an
very cool.
empty table
Yeah.
where they're waiting for people. It's like
Yes.
reserved for Jerry Lewis, Muammar Gaddafi.
Muammar Gaddafi. Yeah, Muammar Gaddafi. Yeah.
So I looked into it.
P.W. Botha,
Yeah, who was
3
that?
out of those 4 people are dead now.
and they're all dictators.
So
Okay.
PW died in 2006, Jerry Lewis died in 2017, and Muammar died in 2011.
Wow.
So
If we did the movie now, we'd have to put in guys acting as
Yeah.
them to fill
Right.
the table.
CG.
So
We
I
would
was thinking about it. I was like,
do-
oh, that table's almost full. They're just
And
waiting
deep
for,
fakes.
Imelda Marcos?
Yeah.
Yes,
I see.
and Jerry Lewis.
No, it says Jerry Lewis died.
Really? Did Jerry
In
Lewis die?
2017.
He's on the table.
But he's on the table, yeah. So he's marked on the table. So yeah, he would be at the table.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was. I mean, obviously, very much poking fun of all of that stuff. And they're in a bar. And by the way, I think so outside of the bar is a giant slot machine.
Jimmy Hoffa.
Jimmy Hoffa, right?
It
Exactly.
says
That's what I thought.
Hoffa Casino.
Okay, all right. So
Now that I
that
thought
was
about that a lot. I was going to Google it, but didn't get time. But that had to be a real casino out in the middle of nowhere.
I guess I
Because
have no
to
idea.
build that thing as a set,
Wasn't Jimmy Hoffa like a gangster?
Oh,
he
yeah,
was
yeah.
head of the United
Teamsters?
Auto Workers.
Or no, United Auto Workers. Okay.
And they were in, and I hate to say this because somebody out there is going to take offense, but he was tied up with the mob, and the mob eventually had him killed, and his body
That's
has
what I
never
remember.
been
Well,
found.
that was the thing, is that his body was never found, right? So, I mean, everybody knows that for whatever, he was dirty, so, and his body was never found. So there's a lot of mystery about it, and people have said, oh, they found his body on the 50-yard line of some football stadium or something. I don't know. Anyway, so that was, but I noticed that, and he's got a machine gun in his hand, and you pull down like the slot machine, you pull down his arm with the machine gun, and then you'd see a thing, and at the end, when they're driving away, it says, I love hell. And, it, the little slots come up, and it says, I love hell. I mean, all the stuff, the credit card, there was the billboard, don't leave home without it. And then the billboard actually in this movie says, you'll be glad you left home at all. And so there's tons of little things that they've put in there, here and there. When they had the VWs, they were all going down like a highway. And then there was all these signs above the highway. Like, there was like, depth of despair or the pit of despair. And, so of course, all of these cars are traveling down. And then, of course, at one point, it's very weird. They're literally paving a road. Yeah, they're paving a road with people, and body parts are coming out. And it's actually very funny because like a leg falls on top of his car, and he just kind of brushes it off. But it's the road. It's Good Intentions. Yeah, company. Right. Good Intentions Paving Company. Right. So it's the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and so of course there's that, and there's lots of obviously things about death and the things that you always hear. River Styx, and they, Kerberos, the three-headed dog. Kerberos. Cerebus.
Cerebus.
Okay, is supposed to guard the. I think it was.
It keeps the living out of hell.
Right,
Only
exactly.
the dead can pass Cerebus.
Exactly. So,
and that Cerebus looked like stop action.
Oh, it did.
A clay model.
It did look like that.
There's a little bit of that in this movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
I always love seeing claymation because that's what I started doing. I remember Mom put me in like it was like a claymation summer camp.
Yes.
It was like a week-long summer camp when I was like in like fourth grade.
Well,
maybe.
Because you were doing the movies, you were doing stop motion movies with the Lego.
I think I was probably just annoying, and Mom wanted a week off.
Well, we didn't tell you.
I mean,
we didn't say anything.
I did so many Park District summer camps. I think there was a little bit more going on.
Did they have barbed wire and watchtowers?
They didn't. I always thought that was weird. I thought it was to keep the clay in, but
oh, you caught on. Anyway,
one aside. As they enter hell, there's a digital sign above the gateway that says "Abandon hope." Enter here, and
exactly.
It's digital. It's these things going by.
Yeah, it's awesome.
What?
Yeah, it's very cool.
So hell's going to be modern.
Right. Or it's a mixture, because we were talking about the fact that all the sets look so weird. There's so many, it's so eclectic. There's so many different sets with weird things. We didn't even mention the thing. We haven't got, because we're talking about the cars.
Yeah.
We haven't mentioned about the monster or the witch or whatever that guy.
That's one of the most disturbing scenes in the movie.
It's very, very,
he's
very
making
disturbing.
Out. His girlfriend's tied to a bed in the devil's bedroom or whatever.
Right.
And he comes in and unties her, and she starts kissing him, and they start making out. He's going like, we got to get out of here.
And he's covered with blood.
So,
it's really
well,
gross.
that's after he fights the... Then the Hellcop breaks in.
Right. So
he's guarding the door, but Hellcop comes through the wall.
Right.
Knocks his gun out, beats him up, and finally he shoots the Hellcop. The Hellcop disappears in a cyclone of energy.
Right.
And he goes back. His girlfriend drags him back to the bed. He's trying to get away, get them out of there to escape, and he passes the mirror, and he looks in the mirror, and it's this ugly, toady looking
really
female
very
demon.
Disturbing.
Come to mama.
Right.
And it's just so creepy.
It is very I'm surprised you don't have one of those outside in the front. That would be very creepy.
That was very elaborate.
That was very elaborate.
The costume was moving.
Oh, yeah.
And
it was
the
very...
tail would twitch.
You're right. It was very elaborate. And I don't... And you're right, too, because for that time, that period of movie, that was an extremely elaborate piece. Nowadays, it's CG, and they can do everything, whatever, it doesn't matter. But back then, everything was moving.
It was all practical.
Yeah, it was very much so. Yeah, it was very, very cool. But at the same time, extremely disturbing. Like just,
I know, it's so
just
creepy.
That's all my responses. That was horrible.
It's like going out meeting a girl in a bar at night, and you're drunk, and then the next morning you wake up and go,
exactly. Well, and I think that was probably a nod to that whole story of what if you met some girl and she turned out to be what you didn't think she was. So very, very much very bizarre and very unsettling and all of that. So, but
I've done that with purchasing cars.
Have you?
You look at them at night and you're like, oh, this thing's great.
Yeah, exactly.
You bring it home in the morning, you're like, this thing leaks.
Right.
It's terrible. Why'd I get red interior?
It's got leprosy.
Right, exactly.
I've never bought a car with leprosy, but
well,
Craigslist is a wild place. So.
What do you think rust is to a car?
Exactly, yes. Yeah, I think that's probably correct. So, speaking of which cars...
The last car I just wanted to mention was
cars.
the Ford Pinto. Just because it's a Pinto.
Yes.
It deserved to be beaten up.
Yeah, it did.
I recently
had one
heard,
headlight.
I still have never driven a Pinto. I've always wanted to.
Really? I thought you have.
There's a whole Pinto obviously, if they got hit in the back in the right way, they would explode. It was because of the gas tank straps. But what I didn't know is that Ford willingly knew that the gas tank straps were faulty, but it was cheaper to pay off the families when it happened than to recall them all and have it actually fixed with the straps.
Well, now
they're like, well, if 10 cars blow up, that'll cost us $10 million.
Well, now that's just a sound business decision.
Well, it's like still taught at like
It's
MIT
terrible.
and Harvard
I know.
and
It
like
is awful.
business because
Yeah.
like it is not, the correct answer is not always the best answer
Right.
for business.
Exactly.
And so it's a huge
Yep.
case study that
Yeah, it is.
they're like, oh, we pay out $10 million to families of whoever blows up, or we pay $35 million to
Right.
get it fixed. I don't know the specific numbers, but they did a cost benefit analysis and they're like, just leave them out. Just see what happens. Maybe they
Wow.
won't blow up. Maybe people won't crash them.
Right.
So,
right.
yeah,
So
very,
that's
very
nice.
interesting and kind of a. I loved the line at the very beginning where the girl goes, "Not in a Pinto," and he
Yes.
says, "Close your eyes and picture a Porsche."
Right. Yeah.
I
Very
thought that was
nice,
so maniacal, but
Yeah.
so funny.
It is very good. Yeah.
It
Yep,
didn't
yep,
work.
yep.
It didn't work though, did it?
No,
it
it
didn't.
definitely
No,
didn't work.
It was still a Pinto.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. I really liked. It was a 1987 Cadillac Brom limo. The Devil's limo
yes.
was a pretty hot
Yeah,
car.
yeah,
I've
that
driven
was
one,
pretty
not
cool.
the limo, but I've driven one of those.
That's
and
that's pretty
those
cool,
are those are nice cars.
They look nice.
Oh,
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
and
definitely.
very like it was. I always like seeing the devil portrayed as like someone that's a little bit more regal.
Oh,
someone
yeah,
that
yeah,
has
yeah, yeah.
finesse.
Yep,
someone
yep,
that
yep, yep,
like
yep.
I don't like him like this when he's portrayed as like this like gangly beast. I kind of like the businessman devil because I feel like that would be more true.
Right.
I feel like
Yeah,
there are
they-
devils
they-
in this
right.
world that wear suits and ties
Oh,
and
yeah.
work on
Oh, definitely, yeah.
on Fifth Avenue. So
Right. And that's really, it was for the longest time, it was mostly, devil was portrayed as this really scary character. I mean, very
More monstrous.
Yeah, more monstrous. And then people were like, well, wait a minute. If the devil were really that smart, he would know. And I say he, but whatever. The devil would know that it would be much more appealing to people to be attractive and all of that. And so there was kind of a weird shift over time where people were like, oh, yeah, we got to make the devil handsome. And then he's like this suave, handsome. And I've seen it in a lot of movies. And this was great, too. I appreciate it as well.
Yeah, I like how he had the guy holding an umbrella and he set up like a little picnic to watch this like death race, essentially. He was drinking and just enjoying himself. And I'm like, that's more sadistic than
It
like
is.
punching a guy in the chest.
Yeah, it is.
Like, because that's like, everyone's
Well,
done that. But it's like
yeah.
setting up a picnic to watch this guy maybe get stuck in hell for eternity. And he was like, oh, let's just pull over here and have the little umbrella. And
Well, and you think about it, if you're the devil, you've seen everything anyway, so you might as well.
He says that.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
It's
So
one
he's
of
like,
those
yeah,
She said
you know.
to him,
Yeah.
don't you feel anything? And
Yeah.
he says, I've felt everything.
Right.
Which is
Exactly,
pretty-
which is great.
about
I mean,
that.
it's
pretty hard-hitting line.
I think he had
it's a good Instagram caption.
but it's true.
Some like
it is
sad, depressing post. Like,
If he's
I
the
felt
devil,
everything.
if he's
Yeah.
the devil,
Right.
he's
It's
felt
like,
every
okay.
human emotion and
Exactly.
every degree and
Exactly. And
every
s-
permutation.
Exactly.
But the thing I liked was Patrick Bergen played the devil very suavely.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
was
I agree.
almost like Hugh Hefner.
Yes.
And
yes.
then there was the part where he played
Which is a
the-
great analogy, by the way. I like that. Yeah, the Hugh Hefner thing. Yeah.
Then there was a guy in the pork pie hat, the mechanic.
Yep.
Was kind
Yep,
of a
yep.
down home boy.
Right,
And then there was
right.
scenes, just so everybody knows they're going to get scared. He plays an actual demon.
Right.
He's
exactly.
actually made
yeah,
up in
yeah,
a demon.
Yeah.
And I thought he carried that off very, very well.
Oh, I do
it was
too.
Very
Yeah,
sophisticated.
it was.
The
Yeah.
language was very good.
Yep.
His demeanor was very good. The only thing I noticed was he was wearing snake eye contacts.
Yes.
And at one point, one of them shifted. So instead of being vertical, it shifted.
I did
off
notice
at
that.
an
I thought
angle.
that was like a thing.
Do you have some? Because I know we've been to events and stuff where people wear the contact work. You have okay, so you have some.
Right.
Okay, that's what I figured. I thought you did. I know. Yeah.
How old are contacts?
Oh,
Like,
they're
when were
very old.
contacts invented?
That's a good question.
Mine was about 40.
Okay.
That was a joke. Never mind. They've been around a lot, probably 50 years.
Have
Oh,
they?
wow.
Yeah.
But the cosmetic ones, now he was wearing scleras, which cover the whole eye.
Oh, really?
And then there are the regular contacts, which just cover the iris and the cornea.
Yeah. Right.
So he had scleras, which you pop in.
Scleras.
I believe you put in regular contacts from the bottom up. Well, these you put in from the top down. So it's tricky. I've got a pair. It takes me about 20 minutes to figure out how to put the damn
Doesn't it
things
hurt?
in. No.
No, it doesn't.
No, but
Okay.
they're not
Right.
super comfortable for wearing for a long period of time.
I was gonna say at those conventions and stuff.
Yeah,
there's got to be
yeah,
a
there's got-
bathroom break
Well, you
where
see
you're like,
zombies with white eyes.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
that's how they do it.
those are good
Sclera
ones.
lens.
That's a sclera, huh? Never heard of that before. That's really cool.
I just made it up.
You could have, and I would have been like, "Oh my gosh, Leo, I learned something new."
we're gonna be straight faced for this podcast, but we will be doing some Googling in the car ride home. We will be doing some aggressive Wikipedia searches to figure out what's true, what's false.
we have looked up stuff before as we were podcasting,
That
but
is
yeah.
true.
So, but anyway, no, that is very cool though. I didn't realize that they had those like the full eye ones, and then there's the contact ones. But it's hilarious that it shifted. So that's what bothered you. It bothered me that he had a mirror, that Sam had a mirror, but to you, it was the contact lenses that bothered you with the the satanic demon, blah blah blah. Yeah.
Well, also the pictures on the wall of the devil's hangout, whatever it was Hieronymus Bosch. The
What?
guard. You've never heard of Hieronymus Bosch?
No, I
No
haven't.
idea.
No.
Hieronymus Bosch was a 14th century Flemish painter who painted normal Madonna, Christ, baby Christ God pictures for years.
Yeah.
And then suddenly started painting these psychedelic demonic visions
Wow.
of earth, purgatory, and hell. And he did a triptych, which is a painting that folds in on itself
Yep,
to
I've done those,
protect
yeah.
against Viking raiders. They
Really?
would fold the paintings over, and the wooden frame would protect.
Oh, I didn't know that
Well,
was
I
the
didn't know-
reason.
yeah,
I've
exactly.
done triptych photos, but wow,
That's
interesting.
The original triptychs were to protect
Huh.
the paintings. So then when you opened it, you would
Yeah.
get three paintings side by side, sometimes continuous,
Wow,
sometimes
cool.
three different images.
That's cool.
Yeah,
But
usually it would be like-
Hieronymus
yeah.
Bosch,
Yeah.
they think, stumbled into a cult of people doing belladonna, which was an early LSD-like drug,
Okay.
and started painting these demonic visions of cannibalistic fish and birds tearing humans apart and demons
Wow.
spearing them. It's really horrific stuff, but it's like 700 years old, and it's pretty cool. But those are the
That's-
paintings in his room.
Yeah, that's very.
Can you
I didn't
imagine
really, I
going
didn't
back in time and giving them actual LSD from today?
Wow.
Like, because this is
I'd
like,
be like-
we got the pure stuff.
Right.
I mean, we got the pure stuff.
Yeah.
these days.
I thought it was always be neat to go back in time to like King Arthur's court or Louis XIII's court
Yeah.
with a band like the Jefferson Starship.
Yeah. Yeah. There
And
you
they'd be
go.
doing these minuets
Yeah.
and waltzes, and
With
now
the-
all of
the-
a sudden
the
there's this
harp and
electric-
lyre.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. And
and
then
violin, and then
Right,
all
and
of a
then
sudden there's this band cranking out this tremendously large, huge music
Yeah.
with an irresistible beat. What
Yeah.
would they do?
What's that German rock guy, Wolfenstein or something?
Rammstein.
Rammstein.
Yeah,
Rammstein.
Rammstein.
Imagine, yeah, with a time machine bringing them back to like the birth of Christ. Be like, yeah, that's cool, but listen to this.
Right.
They think it was the apocalypse.
And here's one thing too. And now that we're talking about time travel, we're totally off the
Yeah.
subject, which we never get off the subject. But I'm just kidding. So we always get off the subject. But here's the thing: I always laugh about when they talk about time travel, and they show. And you see this on YouTube all the time, and they show pictures of, like a person in a 1930s movie, and it looks like she's talking on a cell phone.
Right.
And so they show that, and they go, maybe she's a time traveler. And I'm going, okay, she must have an awesome mobile plan to actually be able to transmit over time.
My phone gets confused in a parking garage.
Right.
I can't imagine.
How would you?
You've heard of Xfinity. This is Infinity.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
No,
This
but
is infinity. That's good. I like that. It's
Speaking
infinity.
of time travel,
Yeah.
Biff Tannen from Back to the
Yes.
Future drives the same Ford Coupe as in this movie. It's a little bit newer and black and convertible.
What?
So where the manure truck pours
Yeah.
all the manure into Biff's car,
It's
a Ford Deluxe V8.
No.
Yep, but it's a black convertible
Wow,
instead of
yeah.
a white coupe.
But is it a newer version or older?
Slightly
version?
newer. It's
Slightly
a few
newer,
years
yeah.
newer.
Okay.
Yeah. But I thought that was funny.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is.
But no,
cool.
but you're right. I mean, I always laugh at that though about the time travel stuff, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, who's she talking to? if she's time traveling, like Marge, I went back into 1931.
And it's always like those pictures. Like whatever they're depicting, it looks like an iPhone 3. Like it's not like this cutting edge technology.
Right.
It's like a Motorola Razor.
I think she's going through time going, can you hear me now?
Right, exactly.
Can you hear me now?
Right. Like, I went to another dimension. Can you hear me better now?
It's the Verizon guy.
because I'm in a dimension now. Hopefully you can hear me. Oh my gosh, yeah. So that's the first thing that pops up in my head whenever I see those. I think those are hilarious because I've seen several where it looks like people are talking on cell phones, and so
Other things.
I do want to say, getting back to the movie and effects and stuff.
What movie?
The last note that I had written down here that we haven't talked about
Yep.
was when the girlfriend is put in the back of the police car and the door handle vanishes.
Oh, right. Yeah,
I thought that was a really cool. It was just a wipe effect,
right,
with some
the lasers.
Yeah. But I thought that was a really cool effect for the era.
It was.
I like the handcuffs.
Yes.
that are hands.
The hands.
The
Yeah,
hand-
yeah.
Actually made out of hands,
Right, the
monster
handcuff,
hands that
Yeah.
would grab
Which is-
you. And
Which was great too because then she's in the coffee
Diner,
shop
yeah.
and she pours hot coffee on the hands, which makes them open up,
And she
then she
escapes.
escapes.
It's kind of a
which is
design
great.
flaw, if you ask me.
Well,
we-
they don't
we're-
often give convicts, you know.
Right.
We're
"Hey, you guys
losing
want some
all
hot
these
coffee to spill on the handcuffs.
Well, I mean, it is hell. I mean, so how often do those cuffs get used? But yeah, I mean, it was and it was fun to see the plethora of characters that they portrayed in this movie. Just tons of them. The one guy, what was his name, Royce, who
Biker.
yeah, the biker guy, really nasty and just completely turns on her. And she's like, you scum or whatever, you bastard. And he's like, well, down here, that's a compliment. So thanks very much. You know, it's like, yeah, you'd have to think about, and you'd wonder, well, what do these people do all day anyway? Like what's a nice,
They look at the scenery.
right. Exactly.
That's why it's hell.
the rocks.
Same shit.
Exactly.
Every day,
Right.
same shit.
Every day looking at the same.
Arizona.
Right.
Just Arizona over and over.
I don't think this is I don't think that the Arizona Tourist Board thought, hey,
No,
this
here's
is a
the
great
thing.
movie.
I'm gonna be honest. I hate the Southwest.
Wow.
After driving
You
through it,
probably
I hate
just
it.
lost
Yeah,
like 20% of your audience.
Yeah. Try to refill that Lake Mead, huh? Then let me know how that goes.
Wow, yeah, that's
Speaking
That's
of like
a
Jimmy
crazy-
Hoffa and stuff,
Yeah.
they're finding a bunch of dead bodies down at the bottom of that lake.
yes.
I went down there. It's
mentioned that.
creepy.
Yeah.
It's creepy.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of like sunken boats and stuff that are just like surrounded by plants now
Wow.
because it's receded
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah,
But
that's
anyway.
crazy. Yeah.
But overall, I really liked the movie. I
You did?
actually
Yeah.
really enjoyed it more so than I really thought I was.
I did too.
As we talked about earlier, the movie was filmed on a budget of $7.5
Yes.
million.
$7.5 million. And-
Pretty
Yeah.
reasonable. Pretty
Yeah.
reasonable.
It was
For that
filmed in
time.
91. It was released by the distribution company in 92. They held it on the shelf for a year.
Yeah.
And it was released to theaters and did a whole giant box office amount of $26,000.
Wow.
So
26,000.
Is
So
the
if you put $7 million into this movie,
Yeah.
you got 26,000 back.
Yeah.
I think that's considered a loss.
Yeah, I think that the producers were like, "Holy, okay."
But it didn't get very good reviews, but it became a cult classic.
Yeah, exactly.
Like The Room, like
There's all
Yeah,
kinds
yeah,
of
yeah,
movies
there's all-
like
yeah,
that
exactly.
are now cult classics. And,
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I hope to do is just make cult classics.
Well, I honestly, I could see this being like a yearly movie that I would
Oh,
watch
yeah,
around
yeah, yeah,
Halloween. This,
Yeah.
and honestly, I feel the same way about The Car. The movie
Yes,
The Car.
The Car. You're right.
I think that was like a maybe once a year kind of comfort, bubblegummy-ish
Yeah.
movie. I
was,
still think that scene in The Car
Mm-hmm.
where it's a panning shot in the garage and the
I know
guy
you
just
love
walks
this.
across the screen,
Yeah.
and the car is in the background,
Yep.
but they don't stop on it.
Right.
One of my favorite scenes in any movie.
Yeah.
Because you didn't catch it.
I didn't catch it.
You're like, no, there's nothing in there. And I'm like,
Right.
no, the car's, it's back there. And
Yeah,
that's what
I
I
didn't
love
catch
because
it.
it actually put me feeling in the movie of like, did I see something?
Right.
Like I felt
yeah.
like that character, and then he turns around and
It
sees
is a
it. And,
that's a
and
great
whatever. So
great thing to put into movies where there is something in the background, but you don't bring any attention to it. If you're really watching it closely, you can see these things, and if you're not, then obviously you miss it. But those are fun Easter eggs and stuff to put into.
and it rewarded us for actually rewinding and being like,
did.
oh wow, that was
yeah,
so cool.
It did,
So
because I was like no, and then we went back and I was like, oh man, yeah, totally. So yeah, but
no, I was a big fan of this movie. I liked
it was
it.
good. I
It's a
enjoyed
good,
it too,
funny
yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a movie made specifically for drive-ins.
Yeah,
Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah, I
I
could
could
see that.
see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I mean,
You pan it
yeah.
with the Booger from Hell
Yeah.
and a couple of other
Yeah.
goofy movies.
Matinee,
and-
something like that. Yeah.
Well, exactly. And then there's you had like Chad Lowe, who his acting in this. I'm sorry, it was
What
really,
acting?
yeah, exactly. It was so bad. It was so overacted, and it was so poorly acted by him. And then you had I keep forgetting her name. Christy Swanson. She actually went on to do a ton of stuff. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which I couldn't say at the very beginning, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But she also did a ton of other movies. And she actually was in Dude, Where's My Car? Tons of different
I'm
like
surprised we
movies.
haven't done that movie. Dude, where's my car?
Oh,
There's
we
car in
haven't-
the
yeah,
name.
we haven't
We haven't
done
even done that movie.
That's
So
a
is
good
the car.
Yeah, well, exactly, yeah. So, yeah, exactly. Duel is another one that we always said
Yeah,
we
we
haven't
need to
done
do
that. That's
Duel.
a Spielberg.
I actually have never seen Duel.
I've never seen it, but I've seen bits and pieces.
I've
of it.
seen
That's
it.
cool. Thanks
Have
for
you
sharing.
seen
That's
it?
the
Yeah.
one between Dennis Hopper and the truck and
Yeah, exactly. He's in a. He's
You
in
only
a car
see his
that's-
boots and his like cowboy hat, right? The driver.
Dennis Hopper. Oh no.
Wait, what's the movie where it's like a killer truck and you only ever see the driver's boots and you see
I don't
I
know.
had
It
a
might be. I don't know if it's.
I
that
had
one.
a book that I would always check out from the library when I was in elementary school, and it was How to Make Movies. And they
Really?
talked about that movie because you like didn't have to show the full character for people to understand the character.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was Duel.
It could have been.
is.
It
And
could have
like
been,
you
yeah.
just see like cowboy boots and maybe you see his like glasses
Yeah.
or like a cowboy hat on the dash or something.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
I think it's very cool. And there's also that whole mystique of not revealing the monster right away, giving glimpses perhaps of the monster and kind of teasing people. They did that with Jaws. They did that with lots of different movies.
Alien.
Yes, exactly. Alien.
Stranger Things. I know that's a
Stranger-
modern
yes,
interpretation,
exactly,
but
yeah.
it was filmed in a 80s style, which I appreciated.
Oh yeah, which I think was really cool, and it's I think that when you have those things like let's kind of tease the audience with the monster, you only see little bits and pieces or you know of it. It's actually scarier when you don't see the whole thing. You don't know exactly what you're up against.
It builds up suspense.
It does.
So
does.
you're anticipating seeing it, but you're on the other hand, you don't
Right.
want to see it.
Yeah. Well, and that was kind of like what we did Pumpkinhead. I mean, that was kind of the same thing. I mean, there was some really cool effects in that movie, actually. I thought those were really good. So.
Stan Winston.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. So that was very cool. So to just hint and tease at the monster, and then that builds up, you said, it builds up suspense and it builds up the mystery and all of that good stuff. It's very different when you have a movie where they just come right out and just, okay, here's the monster, and that's it. And then it's like, oh, that's...
Then it's just how we're going to kill it.
Right. Exactly. That's it. And those were a lot of the 50s movies where the giant... creature from the Black Lagoon or whatever comes out. You see it right away. There's no mystery to it. There's
Herbie the
nothing
Love
in it.
Bug.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Good-
they showed
good call.
Herbie like minute 2.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's no mystery
and that was
of who
frightening.
Herbie was.
That was exactly. But that was that was one of the reasons too. I really wanted you to watch this movie as well. Was because of the VWs, the bugs. That was such a great scene. Did you notice the bumper sticker on the one? Pontius Pilate is my co-pilot.
Yes, I love
Pontius
that.
is my
I thought
co-pilot.
that was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was fun. Lots of things that literally this time I stopped the DVD. I stopped it to like read the signs and read it because a lot of things go by very quickly, and I enjoyed it too.
Do we want to do a little bit of trivia? Is it that
sure,
time?
let's-
What
yeah,
are
let's
we
do-
at time-wise?
Well, we're at I've got an hour 5 on
Okay.
here. But yeah, we can do
So
that.
this is pulled directly from, but in no way sponsored by IMDb.
Right, that's what we always say.
We
yeah,
always
yeah.
pull some fun and interesting trivia.
Yeah.
So number 1, the film features 4 members of the Stiller family: Jerry Stiller, his wife Anna Mara, and Ben Stiller, and Ben Stiller's sister Amy Stiller,
Yep.
who does bit parts in most of Ben's films.
Yes, she
So
does. yeah.
she kind of like Adam
It's kinda
Sandler's wife is in every one of his movies, I think.
Is
Or
really?
almost every
Well,
one of
kind
her
of like
movies.
Ron Howard's brother is in a lot of his movies.
Oh, really?
A lot of his movies.
And you know what
yeah.
we should? Chad Lowe's in a lot of Rob Lowe's movies, but you
Is
never
he?
see him because he's in the shadow.
I feel like that's almost like an Easter egg, like a Where's Waldo. Like,
Yeah,
did you know?
It is. Yeah. Right.
Did you? There'll be
Did
a
you see it? Did
IMDb
you-
trivia.
Right.
Yeah, they'll have to use the Ghost Hunter's red circle.
The red
to-
circle, the ubiquitous red circle. Yeah.
This was shot from. This is what IMDb says.
Okay.
Shot from the 25th of October 1989 to the 20th of December 1989, but not released until late 1991,
Okay.
and then and unreleased in the United States until March of '92.
Oh wow! Interesting.
So
yeah.
so that's just what IMDb says.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a pretty quick turnaround time, of end of October to December.
That's pretty
like a
quick
month
to
and a
do.
half.
That is-
They did a lot of production work. They did it really, really fast.
really fast.
Yeah, just under
Like,
2
yeah.
months here.
And there was
of
so
filming.
much weird stuff in that movie. They
Yeah.
had to spend hours trying to
Oh, yeah.
make it all work.
Yeah, definitely.
Various people from the Arizona Volkswagen Club lent and drove their Volkswagen cars
Okay,
in
yeah.
the scene. I thought that was kind of fun because I could totally tell in the background. I'm like, oh yeah, those people are like 80 feet apart.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, they didn't want to scratch their
Well,
Volkswagen.
A
so-
bunch of them were like bouncing around off the
Yeah.
car.
Right,
One
yeah.
almost spins out of
Yes.
control. in
Yeah.
front of
Exactly.
them,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm going
So-
like, wow, I wonder where they got all those people to do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the time, the bugs were available. And
Yeah, that's the interesting thing is that in old movies you see bugs getting
Oh,
torn
yeah.
up all the
Oh, yeah.
time. But like nowadays they're getting so rare that like it hurts my heart now.
It does.
But in the 80s you just see a Volkswagen crash and you're like, it's
Yeah,
a Volkswagen.
Well,
Very
don't
well
forget, they were the people's car, and they were
Right.
not made expensively. They were very
Right.
cheap cars.
Yeah.
So for them to survive this long, and I believe Mexico is still making bugs.
They
Yeah.
made them till
Oh, yeah.
2002 or 2003 when they started to require an airbag. And they couldn't comply because they
okay.
never had airbags.
Gotcha.
But they
That's in America.
right.
Right.
And then Mexico also had the 1990s Nissan Sentra, the little boxy Sentra. They made
Did
it
they?
till 2017.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think
Wow.
Mexico finally required either traction control or maybe it was a passenger airbag. I forget.
Ashtray.
right. Or something past,
Power windows.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah.
Gas cab.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
On Hellcop's chin, there are the letters SJ plus LQ, which stands for Steve Johnson, the makeup artist, and Linnea Quigley, his wife, the actor's wife. Yeah, so there's a little Easter egg on his chin. He had the initials of the makeup artist and his wife.
I did know the first time I never got this, but then I actually stopped the DVD this time. He does have things written all over his head, which I didn't
He looks like a
realize before.
Chipotle bag.
He's a Hellcop. It's real easy to read his face.
Right. But
But you have to get real close.
In the scene where Beazle tows the car,
Yeah.
it says on the side of the tow truck "Satanic Mechanic," a reference to the song in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Satanic Mechanic.
Okay, all right. I didn't know that.
And
But
it's
it'll say
AAA, which is
AAA.
anarchy.
Yeah, I thought that was
Annihilation,
kinda cool.
and yeah, something like that. Yeah, it was the AAA.
I also
but-
like though that Hell has blue collar jobs.
Yes.
He's like, yeah, I'm just a tow truck mechanic in
Yeah,
Hell.
somebody's
Exactly.
got to keep the fires going.
That's right. Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah.
I don't have it written here, but I remember reading that they tried to license AC/DC's Highway to Hell, and they were kind of making the movie around it.
Yeah.
And then they could not afford it, so they had to switch up the soundtrack. But like originally, it was supposed to be kind of anchored around that song. Obviously.
Well,
right.
Speaking of soundtracks, it does have a good soundtrack. Rock and
Oh,
roll
yeah.
But also, one of the premier female guitarists in the 80s, 70s, and 80s was Lita Ford, and she plays the hitchhiker that tries to climb in his car.
Really?
With the
That's
boobs,
her?
the
Yeah,
cleavage
was
shots.
Was that her?
That's
Okay,
Lita
wow.
Ford,
Wow.
who did a whole bunch of pop songs and rock and roll, hard rock
That's
and roll
hilarious.
back in the 70s and 80s.
I had no idea. Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Well, and then you had the crazy like ice cream guy who jumps on top of the car after that. Which, yeah,
And he blows a hole
And
in his head, and it looks like a paper mache head. It's like, wow, that was pretty cool.
It was very cool. That was actually a satisfying kill because it was like that guy was so annoying and
Had
creepy.
bad teeth.
Oh yeah.
Too much ice cream.
That is the reason why it was satisfying. He had bad teeth. That was
And that is my reaction seeing someone with bad teeth. I try to blow them away with a shotgun as soon as possible.
Wow.
Hoping they're made out of paper mache.
Hey, he was armed.
He was armed.
He had an ice cream scoop.
He has an he
No,
had an
that's
ice
true,
cream
that's
scoop.
true.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I found this very interesting. They only had 2 Hellcop cars for
That's
the
it?
filming of it. One was used for the driving shots and one was used for the stunts.
That's it.
They had 2 of
That's
them.
it. That's
which, like, I mean, when we talk about the Fast and Furious movies, they have like 17, 18,
yeah,
19
yeah.
of the exact same
Exactly,
car.
Yeah.
This production, they had 2. Well, also,
2.
Ghostbusters famously had 2.
Yes. That's
Because
right.
and they used one for the first movie and had a backup.
Yep.
Do you remember Ghostbusters? So they pull up in the black Ecto one before they make it what it is. So that was their second one, and the first one broke down during the filming of the second movie. So they took that black one, the pre-done one, and made that into the Ecto one for the second movie,
Yeah,
which I thought was really, really
Very
fun.
cool, very cool. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a really small, especially for $7 million. They couldn't have squeaked a third Ford LTD cop car. I imagine because at this time those cars were about 10 years out of service. They were probably like Crown Vics here, where you could buy them for $35 and a pack of cools.
They're probably an ex-cop car.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
Well,
so.
yeah, definitely. And $6 million of the budget went to the Stiller family. I think.
guess
So I think, yeah,
And another $100,000 for the contact lenses.
that's right. Exactly.
And then another $50,000 just to Chad Lowe's brother, just to rob Lowe for letting his brother out of the house long enough to do this movie.
Yeah.
This was a weird one. I don't know if you remember this, but the red car appearing outside of the cafe is a Manta montage built by Montacars in Santa Ana, California.
Yes, because this the devil gets into that car.
Yeah.
And it's and I couldn't figure out what that car was.
Yeah, it was like a specially built car in California.
Right.
I never even heard of it.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
You know what?
Where's California?
You haven't heard of It's close to Utah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's honestly, it's actually on the other side of hell.
Yeah.
Well, you have to drive through hell, and then you end up in California.
Which is,
my God.
Which is far worse than hell.
Oh, yeah. I would.
California. Sorry, we probably lost everyone now.
Driving through. I drove through Death Valley 2.5 months ago.
Right.
And then got to California and really just wanted to turn around.
I
Should've
drove
went.
through Death Valley in a Volkswagen.
Oh, God.
Wait, you did?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Ugh.
Wow. Death Valley in a Volkswagen.
Well, you did Death Valley in a Mazda RX-7.
Yeah, without a cell phone, without anything.
See, I'm here
That was
crying
dumb.
because my car
That was
started
dumb.
overheating because I had the AC on full blast. and get this, I was driving through Death Valley. The ambient temperature was 118 degrees. This is middle of July.
Yep.
Yeah,
And my car has radar cruise control, so it'll basically drive itself.
Yeah.
And it stopped working at 118 degrees. And I was like, come on. Come on.
I gotta drive this
And
by
then-
myself.
Well, and then it thank God it cooled down to 113 and it started working again. So I was like, all right, cool.
Wow. Wow, that's a first world problem right there, you know.
No, I just remember lowering the window though and sticking my arm out and the air felt like a solid.
Sure.
It was like warm jello.
Yeah.
It was awful.
It's a
So
crazy
I can't
place,
imagine
yeah.
in an air-cooled car.
Yeah, I
I'm sure
can't
that
imagine
thing was
that.
screaming.
There was no cooling.
Yeah, that's the
You
thing.
opened the windows and it got hotter.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. Exactly.
Well, that little air-cooled
Yep.
engine was probably so because it has no coolant,
It's
no
nothing.
radiator.
Well, here's
Nothing
the
to go
odd
there.
part.
Yeah.
When I left California to come back to, at the time I lived in Michigan, my wife and I at the time drove through Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And we
sorry.
took Highway 6. Me too. We took Highway 66.
Oh, yeah?
And
Oh,
we
really?
drove in the winter, and for the first time ever, I saw plug-in oil heaters.
Oh, you're
yeah.
kidding. Yeah.
So we didn't know what
Yeah,
they
yeah,
were.
right.
Stayed overnight in the hotel. The temperature dropped to like 700 billion below zero.
Right.
And we got up in the morning and our car wouldn't start because the oil was frozen. And we had to wait till like 11
Oh, wow.
o'clock for the
Gotcha,
car, open the hood,
Yeah.
let the engine heat up before
Yeah.
the oil got liquid enough for us to
Right.
drive it.
Was it where
Wow.
you would? Was it basically like a heated dipstick, and you would put
Yes,
it? Yes,
you put it in
Yeah,
the-
yeah.
in the
I've only
dipstick
heard of
hole.
those.
Wow,
I
yeah.
can't imagine that's
They had
super
it
safe.
at the hotel. It was like a hitching
Oh
rack.
wow. Okay.
So you would hitch your car to
Yeah.
the oil heater because it got so cold in there.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow, that's something
That
you
is-
don't see
yeah.
anymore.
Exactly.
I mean, you
I know,
don't.
No, you don't.
I've
no.
only like literally that's like folklore to me. The like oil heaters. I'm like, oh, I heard that back in this ancient
yes.
time.
No,
there
it's
were these-
absolutely true. It's
They still have those. If you have a truck outside in the
Yeah,
west,
the
no-
diesels are
but
all
you-
plug-in.
you
They're
gotta-
built-in block heaters. You can
Okay.
actually option block heaters on almost any new car. No one
Can
does.
you really?
You can get a CX-5, or you could even get my car with a plug-in block
Oh,
heater.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. But
Which
I
it's
mean,
funny because in the future they're going to look back at the charging stations and they're
Oh,
going to
yeah.
oh yeah, remember when they had charging stations outside of like Osco or
Yeah.
whatever, you know,
yeah,
and they're
you
going to be
didn't just bloop 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 and
Right,
then it
you-
was charged. Yeah.
McDonald's. I'll have a cheeseburger and a quick charge.
right,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah, yeah.
Well, that's what they're trying to do with electric cars. They're trying to do hot swaps.
I heard
Supposedly
that,
that's going to be the future, where like you would pull into a service station and they have batteries already
Right.
charged.
Yeah.
And just like an RC car, you pop
Right.
the two batteries out and you slap them back in.
Exactly.
But
yeah.
the issue is that batteries are so heavy. They're like the battery packs are like 1,000 pounds just on their own.
Right,
So they have to have a
right.
hydraulic lift, and it's
Yeah,
a whole
it's gotta
thing.
be-
so.
How many of those do you have to put in a state to make it a viable operation for your car?
I mean,
exactly
that's
gas
right. Yeah.
stations everywhere.
Right. That'll be
The other thing is, I thought a lot about electric cars, and the trips I make are usually to St. Louis, which is about 300 miles, or Columbus, Ohio, which is about 300 miles. And the range of most of the cars is slightly under that. So if I take a 4-hour trip to St. Louis, I got to take a 4-hour charging break somewhere along the
yeah,
line.
it's true. Yeah.
And
Charging has gotten a lot faster,
Is
but
it?
it's still
Okay,
but it's
all
still like 35 minutes.
those are real fast chargers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you can
that's-
find a supercharger, if you can find one that's open and
And
on,
your
and,
battery
yeah.
has to be configured for that.
right?
yeah, right.
Not
yeah,
every
yeah,
like the
yeah.
Nissan Leaf, I don't believe can fast charge. But like a lot of the Teslas, the Rivians, the new Hummer EV that I just drove,
Okay,
you can
yeah.
fast charge all that stuff. But yeah, it's they have to get the range a little bit more, but the biggest thing is they have to get the infrastructure. I
Sure,
think a lot
yeah,
more
yeah,
people
yeah.
would drive EVs if they can actually figure out the infrastructure of it.
Biden's talking about 100,000 charging stations in America. That works out about 200, maybe, no, 10,000 charging stations. Works out to 200 per state.
Mm-hmm.
So think how many gas stations there are within
Oh,
a 50-mile
there's- yeah.
radius of this place.
Right.
And then imagine how far 200 charging stations go in
Yeah.
Illinois.
Yeah. That's not much.
No,
I mean, that's like
it's a 4-hour drive.
right, exactly to charge.
Well,
yeah,
yeah. Well, so I don't know if you've ever heard of the Rivian pickup
Yes.
truck. It's
Yeah,
a
we saw one
Okay.
driving down the road.
I just drove one 2 weeks ago, and it's nice because it has in the infotainment system, it'll tell you where all the chargers are, like what the wait
Oh,
time
really?
for each chargers.
The different stations.
Yeah,
Oh,
and you
cool.
could choose, like
Okay.
there's a brand called Electrify America that's like a very popular public charging station, whatever. But Rivian is building their own charging stations. So I was like, oh, like let's go to a Rivian charging station.
Yeah.
The closest one is in South Haven, Michigan, which is
Wow.
2.5 hours away from here.
Yeah, exactly.
So if I wanted to charge with a true Rivian charger not at home, I would have to drive 2.5 hours,
Yeah,
charge,
exactly.
and then
That's-
come back, and half my charge would be gone.
Right.
Quick question. How much does it cost to charge a car?
Oh, that's
It depends vastly.
Really? Yeah.
So from what I was told, the owner he had the Rivian, and he also had a Tesla Model X that he drove down to Florida. That's like the bigger SUV Tesla with the gull wing doors, which I love. I love gull wing doors.
Do you really?
Gull wing doors are so cool.
All right. I've never been in a car with gull wing.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
It's
so I have
very
no idea.
strange.
Well, if you ever drive off a cliff, you'll need them.
Yeah. Yes.
So
Okay.
he told
So
me
yeah.
that $5 a gallon when it comes to gas is the threshold. If gas is over $5, he's saving money by driving and supercharging. If gas is under $4, it's cheaper to drive a gasoline car.
Really?
So basically, it's going to cost you the same to charge an electric
Yeah.
vehicle as it does to put gas in a gas-powered car.
Hmm.
Yes, and that's all with supercharging, so that's like the 35-minute to full charge, whatever. If you charge at home, it is a lot cheaper.
True.
But
you
if
can
you
do that overnight.
right,
basically,
but if
yeah.
you can get a phase 2 charger, which it's a 240 or 220. It's like what your washer dryer runs off of.
Right.
If you can run that out into your garage, that's like the best way. But if you plug it into the wall, a Tesla will take like 84 hours to charge
Are you
off
serious?
of a regular wall
Wow.
outlet.
Well,
it's insane.
Most electricity coming into houses is 220,
Right.
and it's split. 'Cause
okay.
A lot of times your washer will use 220.
Right.
Right. So it's
And
just
your
tapping
air
into that.
conditioner
Yeah.
is using 220.
Yeah.
Probably your furnace.
Yeah.
And the rest is split. The 220 split, so you
Yeah.
get 110 in your outlets.
So let me ask you this:
Yeah.
how many electric cars were in Highway to Hell?
Not
Getting
many.
back to the movie, I was gonna say we're
No,
we're
yeah.
pretty much at time, but I just wanted to. I don't know if you have. Do you have more trivia?
One more. One more piece of trivia, and then
I was just bringing us back.
Thank you.
Okay.
I feel. Oh, I do have one more note that I took as
Okay,
well.
good.
The final piece of trivia is the first stunt coordinator was fired a week and a half into production.
Yeah.
It didn't give me any reason why, but it just stated that the stunt coordinator was almost immediately fired.
Maybe.
Probably thought he was in hell.
Yeah.
Probably.
Or he was
yeah.
nearsighted or something.
He's like, I have to stay in New Mexico? No way.
I quit.
He walked
Yeah.
off.
But the last
Wow.
note that I had, this is such like a niche thing that bothered
Okay,
me,
all right.
was he's trying to hotwire the police car. Right?
Yes. Yes.
And he says, "Oh crap! I just started a new note on my phone."
Uh-oh.
Okay, here it is.
All right, here.
He says this car wasn't made in Detroit, you know, and because it's like it's a hell cop car,
Right. Yeah.
Ford LTDs were never made in Detroit, like at all. So the statement is true, even for the stock Ford LTD.
Okay, so that's
They're made in Louisville, Atlanta, Los Angeles, or in Ontario.
that is
Canada.
a very niche piece.
Yeah,
of
but I was like, they never
information, but
made
they
LTDs in
Right.
Detroit.
Plus, when she's trying to hotwire the car,
Yeah.
and they don't look like normal ignition wires. They look like those noodle
True.
wraps. they
Yeah.
put on
Yes.
the computer.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So it's
Kind of
yeah,
bounce.
Yeah.
So that's my
yeah,
that's
okay.
my niche
That's
super
That's what
complaint.
bothered you. That's
Yeah.
what bothered you. What bothered me was the mirror on the guy's rocking chair.
Yeah.
And what was it that bothered Leo? I think it
Well,
was the.
it was the three-headed dog service. There was no
Yeah.
dog poop around there.
Right. How is that?
How is
gonna
that?
happen?
That's
Yeah,
the
that's it.
fakest thing in this whole movie. Was that a three-headed? Now, does a three-headed dog produce 3 times the amount of poop?
I don't think so. Maybe.
But it only
don't
has
know.
one anus.
Like which? Yeah, right. But they're all 3 eating.
We'll leave you with that pondering thought.
Pondered that.
Yeah.
Continued
until
next
our
year.
next episode. So, all right. So,
Thank you so much for joining us,
wait,
Leo.
Have a great
But
time.
also,
What-
would
what-
you
what?
would you change the channel?
Oh,
We
I forgot about
we haven't
this.
Done
We
this
haven't
in a
done
long
this in a
time.
while. If this movie came on while you were doing tasks or whatever, would you get up and change the channel? Would you sit down and watch it? Like, if it just came on TV, would you stop what you were doing?
I think I'd let it run in the background because
Okay.
I've seen it like 4 times
Right.
now, and it's a good enough movie where there's enough hooks in it.
Yeah.
Right.
So you want every time I watch it, I see new stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
New characters,
Right.
new background, like you pointed out with the car. And
Right,
other
yeah,
things,
exactly,
and you go,
yeah, yeah.
wow, I didn't
Right.
and
Yeah.
signs.
Yeah, signs and stuff. Yeah.
Rob Lowe's
and
brother.
There's all kinds of
It took
clever
me
things in there.
Took me 4 watch throughs to recognize to see Rob Lowe's brother. No, yeah, but there's so many little intricate things, and that's what I love about older movies. I feel like there's a lot more like that just had to do with like set design and a lot more creativeness. Like designing the inside of that casino must have been so fun.
Oh yeah.
To put all these little things,
Yeah.
like even those paintings that had such
that
like
had
a
the-
rich history that we didn't even notice.
I had no
going
idea,
through.
but that was
Well,
interesting.
It's really
See,
cool.
In the bar, there's a guy in chainmail. There's
Yeah.
cowboys.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. they have-
There's policemen.
We didn't even
there's
talk
Right.
about it. The 2 of every kind of soldier.
Yes,
That,
exactly.
from
in,
like
which
the Civil
in different
War and
in different costumes.
In different
Right.
costumes. And the funny thing is, several of them were women.
Yes.
Which you don't see right away. You don't really realize it, but like the second or third time through, you're like, wait a minute, that looks like a woman in a military costume.
outfit.
But like at that time, it wouldn't have been accurate because I don't think you would have had women in
No,
like the
most of the time they didn't. They
like,
were camp whores
revolutionary
and
right.
followers and whatever.
Yeah.
So Revolutionary War, you wouldn't have had women dressed in battle gear.
Actually, that's why a lot of the 40s and 50s cars were so iconic is because all the men were off at war during World War II, and women designed most of the cars of the 50s that we see.
No.
Yeah. Like
Really?
the 57, the 57 Chevy, the big tail fins and stuff.
Well,
that's because the women
kudos
were
to
doing the
the women
designing
of the 50s
because the men were off at war.
Wow, kudos to the women of the 50s because those are cool cars.
Yeah.
There's no
so,
two ways about that. So.
little fun.
Yeah,
car
exactly.
fact
So,
for it.
would you change the channel? I mean, we
No, I think I'd let it run in the background as well. I think you said it perfectly. There are like some hooks, and like I might be doing work or writing or whatever, and like I'll glance
Right.
over and be like, oh yeah, Rob Lowe's brother. Like, you know what I mean? Like I really liked the lead car. I thought that was great casting of the car. I love seeing the cop car. I
Yeah.
really liked Hell Cop as a villain. I thought
Yeah,
that he was
that
a really good,
That was cool. That was
kind
good.
of Schwarzenegger,
Yeah,
quiet,
right, yeah.
and I
Terminator
love that
kind of,
he
yeah.
wasn't very fast either. I know he drove the car
Right.
fast, but like when he walked, I kind of like that like quiet, menacing.
Right.
He didn't run at him. He just kind of walked through the flames. And he came
Right.
through the billboard at the
Yeah,
end with his car on fire and just got out
Yeah.
like nothing happened. That was cool to me. That was a really
And
good
if you
villain.
noticed, he was blistering in the car.
Yeah.
Yes,
It
that's
was
right. He was.
like he was
That's- yeah.
burning. So.
Exactly.
And
that's
one of
very
my
cool.
favorite features was that when the devil's watching the final race,
Yeah.
one of his henchmen lights his cigar with his finger.
With his finger, yeah. which
and I was
thought
like,
was
it's
great.
so clearly like a wax finger or something. But I was like,
clearly a
that's
wax
kind of
finger.
cool.
It was
I was
funny.
like, that was a cool little
That
touch
was a
where they were
cool
like,
touch, yeah.
oh, how would the devil light his cigar? Like,
Right.
having
His
his servant
hand-
literally light his hand on
Right,
fire. So.
exactly.
There was
would-
a lot of little hooks in that.
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Would you
So-
change the channel?
I wouldn't. I don't. I would same thing. I think I would have it on in the background mostly because I could hear.
I'm not Hitler!
So that's really
Yeah, that would draw you in. Such a weird cameo.
no. So no,
the
I
whole
would.
thing
I would,
is weird.
It is
Yeah,
weird.
it's true.
would
I don't know why we're drawing the line
It's
there.
like
We
think
would,
about
yeah.
sitting down and trying to write that,
yeah.
Right.
and then you get it all done. And now think about trying to actualize that,
Right.
to make it
Yeah.
happen,
Right.
to make it real.
Well, right. So the pitch meeting, for something like this would have been very bizarre. Okay, so this kid goes to hell. It's like, but it's Utah, and they're
Yeah.
like, and the people, the producers, are, oh yeah, okay, yeah, we see that, yeah, we see that, yeah, that's good,
Arizona,
solid.
yeah, that's
solid,
hell.
yeah,
That's
solid.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, but you do a lot of it. I'm sure, you come up with ideas, and movies always change. What's really wild about movies, we talked about this before, just real quick, is that movies are made 3 times. 1, when you write the screenplay, and then 2, when you shoot it, and 3, when you edit it. So in each one of those times, there were things probably that did evolve and change, and some of it, I'm sure, was improvised.
Yeah.
And where they would say, okay, you're at a table, Gilbert Gottfried,
Yeah.
you're at a table and you're complaining about being here in hell. So just run with it. Let's see what you got.
I read
Let's see what
that
happens.
almost all of Ben Stiller's lines as the cook were improvised.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
so,
that he
right.
was just, they kind of just let him do his thing
'Cause
because
you
it was
can-
such a small part.
Well, and you can do that where you can, especially when it's not, something that's absolutely critical, that you just say, okay, in this scene, we have a cook who's upset. So just rant about something. Yeah,
Run with it.
right, exactly. Go with it, and then we'll do like 50. They do a lot of that with people like, the other guys, Will Ferrell.
Oh, yeah, Mark
People who-
Wahlberg, yeah.
Yeah, so people who can improvise, a lot of times, if you know that going in as a director, and I've seen this, Ron Howard talked about it, lots of people, directors talked about, where you would just go, okay, in this scene, we have to get from point A to point B. You have to complain about something. Let's do like 50 takes. Let's see what you got. And then they pick out something funny with that. Sometimes big parts of movies are put that way. And then, of course, you have to have your plot points and all of that. So I think this movie was, I'm sure it evolved over time. And two, because like you said, that Leo said that, they couldn't get the rights to the music. Or you said that.
I said that, yeah.
I don't know
That's
who are you?
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Not your ride home anymore, that's for sure.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So no, I think sometimes you have to, you have to change things as you go. But very interesting, like you said, that the concept of it. How did they pitch it? How did they get people to do? And how did they get the Stillers? Like, what made? Why in the world did the Stiller family fall in love with this?
I think they
project,
were just
or
on like a Grand Canyon vacation, and they were just out there in the Arizona desert.
Their family was
Like, hey, you
probably
guys
on
are kind of
vacation.
famous.
Living in a tent
Right,
somewhere.
exactly. They're like,
How
hey, you guys wanna
famous
be
was
this?
Ben Stiller at this point? Probably not super.
I don't
Because
think
this was
I
way
think this
before
This is 30
anything.
years ago. So
Yeah.
he wasn't
Yeah, so
really.
it's
I mean,
This was
his
10 years before
way
Zoolander.
before Zoolander.
Ben
way
Stiller
before.
and Ann O'Mara were famous comedians. They were on Johnny Carson.
Oh
They were
yeah, they had their own
big
bits. And, oh
time.
yeah,
And
yeah.
Jerry
yeah.
came along and
Yep.
was
Yeah.
a comedian also.
Yeah.
So they probably did a deal. Look, you can
Yeah,
get one
it
of
is
us for $1,000, but you can get four of us for $1,500.
And it looks like, because they're not in a ton of scenes, that they probably spent a couple days of production.
Maybe.
Right.
I mean,
So
we're
you-
talking about a
Yeah.
month and a half production time.
No, right. So so maybe it was a day
Yeah.
that they're actually, and Leo, working on films, that sometimes that's what they do is they'll bring in. Well, we know too. Like, what was the one movie? It was not Fast and Furious. It was
You've given me literally zero hints. You just said, what was that movie that's not Fast and Furious?
Oh yeah,
That's
I know what
every
you're
other
talking
movie.
about, but I can't remember what it is.
No. It was a very famous Hot Pursuit or something like that, or Need for Speed.
Oh, Need for Speed. Yeah.
With Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton,
Who-
but he's shot alone in
He's-
an office.
Yes.
He never
Yes.
interacts with a single other
Exactly.
character. So we're like,
So-
that was probably 45 minutes on a
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Right, where you and then you could say, well, Michael Keaton's in this movie. I mean, so that's what they did. They had him alone.
Yeah.
And they had him do a bunch of reaction shots and a bunch. You're right. It probably was 45 minutes of his time. They
It was,
probably paid him
genuinely
gobs of
one
money.
day.
Right.
Maybe.
And then, but that was probably what happened with the Stiller family. But it's interesting that they're.
Or they just could have looked at it as a fun time.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean and sometimes that's what, and it's true because I've talked with actors and they have said, yeah, it was just a fun thing, and I just had extra time, and literally one day, I did this on a Saturday or something or Tuesday, and I went in for a couple hours and we shot some stuff, and that was it. I mean, it's just a fun thing to do. So, anyway, so we should probably wrap up here.
Thank you so much for coming on the
Yep.
podcast
Yeah,
again, Leo.
Leo,
No
thank you
problem.
very
Had
much.
a great time. Let's do it again, maybe in a year.
Yep.
Sounds
We
about
could-
right.
we could
Sounds
do
about
that
our
or less or
timeline.
less.
Yeah, it'll
Okay,
probably
right.
be the next episode after this one. Will be next year's
Probably.
episode. So
Probably
at the
so.
rate that we're going. But
Yeah.
thank you guys so much for
Right.
listening. If you're listening on YouTube, you can check us out on Spotify and iTunes.
Yep.
If you're listening on Spotify and iTunes, you can check us out on YouTube. And I think
right.
that's it.
And check out Leo's House of the Dead.
Yes, check
we'll be
out
linking
Leo's-
that in the description and all that
Yes,
stuff. so.
definitely. Thank you again, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.